Welcome to the Tech Branch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for the Tech Branch on Super Talk 1270.
And welcome to the Tech Ranch, everybody. In studio is your guru of geek. That would be me, I guess. And, of course, substitute producer extraordinaire,
Yay.
Mr. Scott McGowan.
Yay, glad to be here, Marlo.
You know, it's one of those days, isn't it?
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it is a Monday, and you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are having some technical issues out at the studio, and you guys are all running all over the place trying to make sure all the programs are going on. And
It is a horrible morning when you stations down, because then you got to figure out where it is from the transmitter, from
Sure.
up the tower to whatever else, and
well, now you can
makes
relax.
it pretty easy to work on the station. Though,
Yeah,
frankly,
yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like I'm going up the tower. No, sir, I'm sitting in here.
But you're filling in here because Jim is filling in someplace
Somewhere
else,
else,
and,
sure.
and that's how it is. So
We're running around.
yeah,
We're flexible.
yeah.
Right.
But we're talking. We've had a 4-part series that we just finished up last week on the future of transportation, just to bring you up to speed. And we haven't had much of a conversation about technological news. So I thought we'd just spend the whole hour today kind of catching up with, the news that's been out there and some of the new stuff that's going on. Of course, thank goodness I printed my copy of the show today because I also do not have any internet. When it rains,
Right.
however that saying goes, when it rains it pours type of deal.
Mondays is what it is.
It's
Mondays,
exactly
Mondays.
right. So I guess I will not be looking at the internet for a little bit. We'll get that hopefully fixed over the break here. But so are you familiar with SMS?
SNS.
SM.
Oh, SM.
Yes, SMS.
SMS.
Let's see
I've
if you-
seen it, but I don't know what it
Well,
is.
it's the technical term for texting.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Right.
So there are services that are starting to pop up now that use SMS or texting to, let's say you're out and about and you want to have a question answered. You can actually text the question to somebody, and if you subscribe to the service, they'll research it and send you the answer back type of deal. So there's a new service that's coming out that's called Go Butler, Gobutler, and they're actually a virtual assistant. So you subscribe to the service, and let's say you want to travel someplace. You just say, hey, I want to go to Denver this weekend, and they take care of it for you.
Okay. I mean, things have gotten a lot easier too. I mean, I would not heavily invest in this particular service. I mean, it could
Sure.
be something that just flies right on past.
Sure.
Because I have a hard enough time having a Siri or whomever else just understand what I'm trying to say. Everybody's like, oh, the restaurant's right next door. Here, you're looking for this. It's not that at all, ever. And I mean, I just get frustrated and then I can't get off.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's like sits there and staring at me like, would you like to ask another question? No, I'd like to stop this
So
now.
do you use Apple?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do use Siri occasionally.
Yes.
Okay, and are you a heavy user of Siri, or are you just
not at all, because I'm
you
just
just-
rejected each time. It seems like that didn't help me one little bit. I can go to the Google and use the Google microphone function and ask that and find it a lot quicker than having somebody then berate me the whole time that I'm asking these questions.
So you're not having a good relationship with Siri?
No, and you would
Wow.
think I would have perhaps a broadcast quality voice, so maybe the phone should be able to understand. But apparently, I'm a mumbler. So
Obviously so. Yeah.
I don't know.
I have all kinds of stories that are embarrassing that I can't even share on the air because of, voice to text translations.
Right, I do a lot
that
of
go
that.
on, and I used to do it all the time. But I have the same thing. Obviously, I'm a mumbler too, and what I say into the microphone isn't exactly what Google or Siri hears. Sometimes. So anyway, but in maybe a couple more years, it'll get better. And as the processors get better in our phones and that type of thing. But it is interesting that you actually prefer to use Google over Siri. And is that
Right.
just for directions and that type of thing? or-
Really just about for finding anything, I guess. I mean, if I use the Siri better, maybe then you wouldn't. It's more hands-free, right? If you can just say, give me the telephone number for
Right.
A1 wrecking,
Right.
and then boom, here's the number. Hit the button and off you go, instead
Yep.
of having to look down at the search and then go, oh, there it is, and
Yep.
find it. So I mean, it's maybe 2 more steps that you have to do, and maybe if I practice that a little bit better, I would get better. But I have a tendency, if I get frustrated, to walk away. So
Sure. So have you ever had or walked by anybody who's got a Bluetooth on
Sure.
and they're visiting, they're trying to make a call, and it'll say, they'll say, call Bob.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple seconds later, no, call Bob.
Right.
And the phone is going, call Betty. And you're saying, no, call Bob. And they actually get in an argument after a little bit with their phone because it's not understanding what they're trying to say.
This is what I'm doing. And I'll walk away from an argument and think, I don't want to do that again. I mean, my frustration level is just, if I can get it accomplished someplace else, all right, you've got the best of me. I surrender, and I'll walk right around you. Not a problem at all.
Yep, interesting. So what apps do you use on your iPhone?
Well, I don't use a whole lot of apps. I mean, some navigation apps, but not a bunch. I mean, I'm not utilizing it nearly as well as I should. I've got the, some NFL apps, basic, kind of stuff, compasses and all. But, yeah, really nothing too deep. I'm not too deep into the phone.
So you use the NFL app because you like to keep up with scores, or do you watch some of the games on there?
Kind of little fantasy. You can watch the games as well.
Okay.
But yeah, primarily for fantasy purposes, keep track of all that. Keep up to date. I realize there's a lot of that, but my phone bothers me enough as it is right now, and enough other people in my life constantly haranguing me.
Sure.
That,
so what?
I prefer to be unplugged sometimes.
So. It is interesting that you have an iPhone then. That's kind of what I'm getting to here. Mm-hmm. Why did you opt for an iPhone over a regular phone? Why did you go to the smart device if you're not really utilizing the tools that are in there?
Because it was free.
Yes,
it was the time to re-up. I didn't walk down there and say, here's $1,200. I'd prefer not to do anything on this phone. So it was, my contract was up, and so I could get into this, and I did, and yeah, I use a lot of it. I guess I don't need it to be as smart as it is.
Okay.
And it's not nearly as smart as it is with me using it. So,
sure. So you said you have a compass on there, too.
Right.
I mean, what type of compass? I mean, what do you use a compass for nowadays?
Well, just general directions, I guess. If you
really?
want to look at it, you can say, well, I kind of enjoy that. It's strange in Bismarck-Mandan to figure out exactly what direction you're at sometime. The way the 94 goes and the
I
way
agree with that,
the strip.
Nothing is true north and south or east and west around here.
Doesn't seem like it,
Interesting.
Yet it's a truism, but it really isn't. People will argue about which is west and which is south in Mandan quite a bit. And you say, well, no, north is obviously this way. You go, no, I don't think it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So you've actually used a compass. I haven't used a compass in 30 years, I don't think.
So you're saying
That's
my
why...
phone is not all that smart if the compass is the primary use of said phone.
Well, no, I'm saying your phone is pretty smart. It's just interesting that you have a compass on yours. I didn't even know they had an app for that, but I guess they do.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So anything else that really pops out? We have a thing on the show occasionally called App Wars, where we have somebody come in that has an iPhone. Of course, I'm a Droid person, so we go back and forth as a different app. So you have my curiosity now. If there's anything else that you use on your phone
that is of any interest whatsoever?
Yeah.
No, not really. Other than your iTunes and things like that.
Okay, so you use it for a music player,
right?
Okay.
And I'm still trying to figure out how to get the U2 album off of my. I know that they have a separate app for that because they download it on all the Apple phones.
Okay, and you don't want to have it on there.
I don't want to have it on there. But I haven't really investigated. I thought as far as abusing technology, that had to be one of the worst things that they could do. There's no way that I was going to listen to that album.
Really?
And I'm a big U2 fan. But if you provide me something and I didn't ask you for it, even if I want it, I don't want it.
Interesting.
Right.
So you would rather go out and find you like to discover things.
Well, and I would go out and buy it if I wanted it.
You really are a Lewis and Clark type of person, aren't you?
I am, but to think, and I am because I have a hard time when they get with the navigation and they're saying, all right, do you want this phone to be tracked at all times?
Okay.
So we know exactly where you are. A,
Yep.
it's killing my battery.
Yep.
B, it's killing my any type of conspiracy thing that I have in my head, which I'm pretty conspiracy free for the most part.
Well, you did take your aluminum foil hat off when you came into the studio, so I appreciate that.
It's similar to that. But to think, but of course, then my navigation doesn't help me at all when I'm driving along. It doesn't. Nearly everybody else in the car is like, well, turn left up here, and then turn here, and turn there. And mine is still going, well, I don't know. Did you say you were in North Dakota? Wait, we're finding it. So the things that I use the phone for, the phone would work better if I would allow it to work better.
Sure.
But I guess
get
I'm
that,
just not too sold into, because if you get to the point where you're searching for things and they say, well, Scott, here's actually what you're looking for. It's not what you're looking for, but here's what we think you're looking for. Or you've looked for this sort of stuff in the past. We know that. Here's every screen that you look at has got advertising on it.
Yes.
That is unique to your environment.
Yeah, at least they think it's unique to you.
Right,
Yeah.
because they've somehow tracked down that in the past you've done this, you've done that,
Right.
you've done
You've
this.
eaten at
You'd be
this
much more
restaurant or
interested
whatever.
in something like this.
And you're right about the GPS tracking stuff, because if you are a frequent, let's say you go to a restaurant pretty frequently, your favorite place to go, okay, it actually learns that, and you're right, it starts giving you advertisements based on your history, I guess, of where your phone goes. So it is interesting.
I have no idea why I'm so kind of conspiracy based, because if somebody wants to know what I'm doing and where I am, too bad for them, because that is some boring stuff. If you want to read everything in my phone, you go ahead.
All right.
Check everything place I've been, knock yourself out.
Sure. After the break, everybody, we will move into Twitter and the heated up, I guess, fight that's going on between Periscope and Meerkat, which is a video streaming service. So come on back.
Currently, it's 46.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Supertalk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
Follow the Guru of Geek at facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or thetechranch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank all the people who listen to us across the country and around the world on the Radio Pup app. Of course, that's our own app here. We're also on the Roku, on iTunes, the Tech Podcast Network, and, of course, the Blueberry Network. So we're all over the place. So if you want to enjoy the program later on, you can do that as well in studio. I have to come up with a new name for you, Scott, because you're not Jim as the producer extraordinaire. And, of course, the tech geezer isn't here today either.
Right,
so,
right. I could be like Simple Scott.
Simple Scott.
Simple Scott.
I like that.
And I take it as, I'm not easily offended.
So we'll come up with something better than that. But
I am a simple man,
Scott,
but uncomplicated Scott, as it were. But I do, in fact, have the Radio Pup app. I did forget to mention that.
Good, and you use it.
It's contractually obligated, really. So it does mess me up in a lot of, because the transmission's a little bit off.
Okay.
Versus what the radio station's actually playing at the time.
It runs a few seconds behind.
Right.
You get that on the internet feed as well. Almost every radio station across the country it's just like a couple seconds behind. It's almost like a delay.
Right. If you're catching something in a phone line, so we do a lot with live radio, and anytime that you have any other source that isn't directly live to it, it will drive you insane if you're listening to it at the same time that you're trying to get something doing.
I know we stream one of the stations from here at our shop, and I'll listen to it in the car on the way down, like this morning, for example, and of course Jim was on the air, and wander into the shop, and he had finished up a little segment, and I walk in there, and he was just starting that segment all over again.
So it's the old, I bet $5 says he blows his line or something, right?
I could have bet people on. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Hey, not to get off topic too much here, but you and I were at the Joan Jett Hart concert here a couple of weeks ago. What'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was not so 80s centric, and I thought that was really very nice. I did just see a Icon show with Ann Wilson on VH1, and she was talking about how those songs in the 80s, they said in the 70s it was all about music. In the 80s it was all about cocaine. And so that's where, it was the era of All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You and Never and Alone, and these songs with the big hair and the fancy costumes and the plunge in front and all. And, she couldn't really sympathize with sometimes the singer of those songs or the way the song was written, because they kind of thought a little bit on the whiny side. Right?
Yep.
And so they only did 2 of those, I believe. They did These Dreams and Alone, I think. And that was it. Other than that, they didn't get back into the Dog and the Butterfly like I wanted. And,
I was really, that was the one song I was looking forward, and Dreamboat Annie.
Yeah, right. I would like to hear both of those.
I can't believe they didn't play Dreamboat Annie. I was just kind of surprised at that. But when you have Joan Jett leading into it, they don't have the 2.5 or 3 hour threshold that they would normally be used to play, I suppose, all their hits. So that's probably what it was.
I think they did an acoustic set, just sisters here, not so awful long ago. An entire tour that involved just doing those songs. So, and if you have to take that out, then you have to take out a Straight Up or something like that, and then somebody's going to be irritated about that. There's always somebody that's not going to hear everything that they want to. But I thought it was a great show. I thought Joan Jett looked like Tommy Bolin from 1972. You know, I mean, she looked like those space rockers or whatever from.
That's the best I've ever heard her
glam
perform.
rock. Yeah,
She was excellent that night. I thought she was really good.
Fantastic.
I think the other thing that amazed me is after the fact, I used to listen to Heart. I think I've told you this before. Out in Seattle, they used to play at the Coliseum back in the late 70s. It was like a Sunday afternoon type of thing at the Coliseum, and I'd wander over there. And it was always fun to hear them before they got really popular. I mean, they were huge in that part of the country. They just weren't huge on the national scene yet. But anyway, I thought, and I was surprised as I'm looking at their stats afterwards that they're in their 60s.
Right.
They look amazing, I thought.
Very much so. Especially Nancy, who I've always had an insane crush against. Nancy Wilson from Heart forever and a day. And she was great. I didn't realize she had that kind of little baby doll voice when she talked. She kind of came up and was like, and I said my sister. and I thought, boy, that's just cute. But yeah, you say, in their early 60s, but.
Anyway,
time marches on.
We are really getting off topic here.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah. Well, we were talking a little bit before the break about Twitter, and I'm sure you're familiar with Twitter.
Marginally, I'm aware of what it is.
Okay.
Now, do I have a Twitter account? I do not.
Okay. So Twitter is a place where you can tweet. I'm sure you're surprised by that term, too. Up to 140 characters. So you basically can say I'm eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and send it out to everybody. Okay,
and people do, and that's why I'm not there, because I don't care about your peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
They do, but it has kind of evolved from that. I mean, I've had an instance, a couple years ago when my wife and I were down in Texas, and there was a tornado outbreak that happened while we were there. We were sitting in a coffee shop, and there was like a 10% chance of thunderstorms, and all of a sudden, we have a meeting that afternoon, and all of a sudden there's this tornado warning that comes up on the screen. So I actually opened up my computer, put a Twitter feed up, and what was going on is people were reporting there were 18 tornadoes in the Dallas-Fort Worth area within a span of like 2 hours. And people were reporting at the intersection of blah, blah, and blah, blah on Twitter, there's a tornado. And then the news media would pick up on that. So they were using the feed from Twitter to put it out to everybody. So that is a great example of how you have, literally hundreds of thousands of people on the ground tweeting about the experience that they're seeing, and the news media can pick up on it and report it, and nobody died.
Right. Well, and that's for safety's sake, can be used, right? Very much a early warning system for everybody.
And I think Twitter had a lot to do with it that day. Now, you could take that to the other side with the issues we have in the Middle East and, with ISIS, and they use these social medias like Facebook and Twitter to recruit people. So you could make the exact opposite argument that maybe people are dying because of social media as well. So,
well, there's always some little shred of truth both ways. I mean, and things that perfect example would be maybe high school basketball games. You got Shiloh Christian playing Grant County, and you don't know, but somebody's there at the game. Boo, pow, out comes the score. So there's very many useful applications for it. You bet there is. Just like Facebook when Minot was in the huge flood situation, the town was cut in half. Basically, they were doing the news from Facebook accounts. Right there live. On the TV stations, basically, it was all just Facebook because you couldn't get anybody up to the north side of town.
Exactly.
So, there's useful things, and there's also, why are people such jerks? And those posts or whatever like that. Stop putting those posts up.
I agree.
Please stop that.
Yeah,
With the little pictures of the things, and people can be cruel. And if people are to be cruel, then you should realize that, if you need a little motivation, you need a little attaboy pat on your back or whatever like that, good for you. But somehow, and that's why people get mad at me. It's like, how come you're not adding me as a friend? Well, because you're a 22-year-old woman, and I know what you're going to do. Right.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. And the political stuff, too, is the other thing that people really get turned off from on there, because it's just nonstop posting. Well, it doesn't matter what side you're on.
Right.
And, in fact, I think it actually adds to the divisiveness of what's going on in the country, because everybody has a platform. Everybody can get their voice heard. Whether or not anybody's listening to you is one thing, but at least you have a place to, put your stuff out there. Because in the past, if you wanted to, contact 1,000 people, you had to make the phone calls, you had to drop something in the mail, whatever you had to do. Now you can just do a post and get it out to 1,000 people just like that.
And then from there, it goes out from there and out from there and, back. And that's a good thing. But it's amazing how, You can't plan for things to go viral. You know, I mean, there's folks out there, you bet, that are intensely trying to figure out how in the world to make something go viral.
Absolutely.
And it's as unfigurable. You know, there's millions of dollars being shipped into how they can get their own angry cat.
Right, right.
Things like that. Angry cat only exists, the internet, a lot of that in a very innocent world.
Yep.
You know, you're going to have to get hit with that bowling ball to get everywhere.
And I will say, you know, and I have firsthand experience with that. We host a website called nationaldaycalendar.com, which I'm sure you're a little familiar with. And we do a daily post every day of what National Day it is. And about 2 weeks ago, actually it was about a week ago, National Beer Day was on. But that was the same day as National No Housework Day.
Oh,
now,
a nice tie-in, right?
Now,
A nice correlation.
Right. But of the two, which would be more popular in your opinion?
I'm going to have to go with National No Housework Day because I think it covers everybody.
Okay, that surprised me actually, and you know we knew that Beer Day would be a huge deal, and it was. I mean, you know, we had over 1 million people that shared it out on Facebook or whatever. But No Housework Day, although it started slow, just took off like crazy. And, you know, again, I was thinking that maybe it would be shared by 10, 15,000, 20,000 people. You know, we get into the millions with it. It was just unbelievable. So you never know. You just never know.
We got stung a little bit with a Facebook report that we had done one of our radio stations or whatever of a certain speed trap that was in the Bismarck, Mandan, or surrounding areas.
Well, you didn't get stung; it just went viral.
It just went bigger than we thought. And I mean, so it's not stung, but right? You want it,
right?
But at the same time, you know, we didn't expect it, and there was maybe a little bit of a backlash there.
Sure.
I mean, just a bit based upon the content.
That's right.
You know, of what we're showing there. So, yeah, you never really do know. You just think, well, you're just talking to yourself and your listeners. Well,
yep.
Not at all anymore.
I know. We're at the break already, and I think Kate is already on the line, so I suppose we should probably go to our break. We're not even talking about what we're supposed to be talking about
well,
today.
This will be all teched up and ready
for
her.
That's exactly right. That's
okay.
Right. All right, everybody, after the break, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino will be joining us. And I think then we'll probably start talking about a little bit more on the technology side. So
that'd be
come on back.
Currently, it's 46.
Get the app called Radio Pup for your iPhone and take us everywhere you go. Bismarck and Mandan's own Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back, everybody. In studio, Simple Scott.
Simple indeed. If we had a rotary phone, I was mentioning earlier, this would have been a lot easier, Marlo.
Of course, we are, the station out here has had some technical issues today, so everybody is filling in where they can to make sure that the shows go on, so which is why Scott McGowan is in studio today. We had a nice little conversation about basically our lives the last couple of weeks, talking about Hart and Joan Jett. By the way, Joan Jett was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
And Miley Cyrus.
She wasn't inducted, though.
No, Miley Cyrus inducted her.
Right. Well, that means in 20 years she'll be inducted.
Probably there's a lot more about that, Miley. Here's another thing maybe you didn't know about Joan Jett. Joan Jett calls Mike Tyson throughout his entire career before one of his fights.
Okay.
And would be like, have a great one, Mike.
Seriously?
Yeah. And
I've never heard that at all.
That's odd, but no, I read quite a little piece about that. Joan Jett talking about how they had just gotten to know each other. And so, yeah, she called him before all of his fights throughout his entire career.
That's pretty cool.
Joan Jett and Mike Tyson pals. And Miley Cyrus putting Joan Jett into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's blowing my mind.
Yeah, I can see that. On the phone, of course, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino. Katie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Marlo. It's great to be back.
It is great to have you back. So we're going to talk a little bit about technology. I asked you to put some notes together on news of the day since we haven't covered news for a while. So are you familiar with Mobilegeddon?
No, I'm not.
Wow. I'm going to fill both you and Scott in about this. So
I might know about it.
Well, do you know about Mobilegeddon?
No. Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Mobilegeddon is the name that's been given to April 21st, I believe it is. And what's going to happen is Google is changing the way they rank websites based on if your website is mobile ready. So if you are, let's say you're in the top page of Google search results right now, with your company and you've worked hard to get there over the last 10 or 20 years or what have you, and your website isn't mobile ready, probably on April 21st, you're going to be in for a rude awakening as you're going to disappear from the Google search ranks.
Oh, wow.
So they are giving a lot of credence to if your site is mobile ready. So a company, and what's kind of weird about this is, unlike most things that Google does or Microsoft does or whatever, where they say they're going to give everybody 2 years to get ready for it or 3 years or whatever, they just announced this last February. So basically 2 months ago that this is going to happen on April 21st. And there's a company called Boulder Marketing Technology. And they actually did a test on the Fortune 500 companies and found that, now, I was just going to ask, I guess, Scott, how many of them do you think are not ready for this?
Out of 500?
Out of 500.
I'd have to say, let's go 100.
Okay. So these are the companies, of course, that would have the dollars to do this. You know, not like small companies. I mean, you would think that they would be on top of this. How about you, Katie? How many do you think did not make the cut?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay. So Scott's looking at my notes here, but so 52% of them made the cut. 44% did not. 44%. So that, and then 4% had no response. So basically those two, 48% did not. So we're actually talking about over 200 of the Fortune 500 companies are not ready for this, which is interesting.
Wow.
So, you know, for companies who are ready for this, that are not in the first page of Google, you know, when you come to search engine results, they're going to love this because all of a sudden they're going to get ranked much better than they were before. A lot of companies that are going to, like I said, be in for a rude awakening. And they have a list of some of them here. Companies that you would expect. Walmart is ready. Berkshire Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us know who they are. I mean, that is a Warren Buffett company. Not mobile friendly.
Oh.
So
they don't care.
They may not. I mean, I don't know. Phillips 66, not mobile ready. AT&T, mobile ready.
Okay. All right.
You're waiting for me to say not there, were you not? Yeah. The other one that I don't think will shock anybody, Fannie Mae. Not mobile ready. But, you know.
Go figure.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you throw into the, what was the healthcare website? What did that cost? $260 million or $280 billion, whatever it was. And they weren't ready, and they're not ready yet either. So anyway, we won't get into the government stuff here, but it is interesting. So if you're a company that is not mobile ready and you're doing okay on Google search engines right now or Yahoo or what have you, you're probably going to, you know, want to probably get ready before the 21st. And you can actually go and get your website tested. So if you go to mobilegeddon.net, and just like it sounds, there's a link on there and it'll show you if Google is seeing you as a mobile ready website.
Well, I believe Town Square Media is a company that is, in fact, will enhance your Google ability.
That's
by,
correct.
Getting a hold of Town Square Media at this radio station's website or by calling. All right, enough.
But they are a digital company.
That
is
That's something that Town Square offers is
Absolutely.
to get your I forget what the exact terminology is for it.
You kind of like how we work that in there. Didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. A little self-promotional
That's
plug.
Right. That's right. Mm-hmm. So Katie, you had sent something to me this morning about Ubeam. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was really excited to talk about Ubeam because I think it's a really cool concept. So there is a woman. She's definitely a futurista, I would say, because she's only around, I think she's 25 years old, and she's an entrepreneur. Her name is Meredith Perry. And so she's based in Los Angeles, and what she did was she basically had an idea about revolutionizing the way that we charge our devices, right?
Okay.
And because now, right, we're all stuck with our power cords. We're always trying to find an outlet. It's so annoying, you know? I mean, we're always trying to find a way to charge our devices, and they all just lose battery constantly. So what Meredith basically thought of was finding a new way for us to charge our devices that we're not seeing already happening now. There are some of those pads that you can, like the those certain wireless devices, but they still have to be plugged in a way, right?
Right.
What the U-beam is actually this small square wafer-sized plate that's about the size of a salad plate. And what you could do is attach it on your wall, and then on your devices that you want to be charging or whenever, any devices, so you can be constantly charging at all times. You have this special phone case or whatever case you need for your tablet, etc., and that will receive this wireless charging, and it uses ultrasound frequencies to charge wirelessly, which is, I think, very interesting.
So basically, if you're in an office, or as Scott and I are sitting here in the broadcast booth, if we had a U-beam device sitting in here and our phones were capable of accepting that wireless power, that we could be charging our devices as we're sitting here without having to plug them in.
Exactly, and that's great because I think you could tell that there's a lot of people, some really big names have decided to invest in her company, and basically what their vision is that, yes, you walk around with the U-beam cases on your devices, and anywhere you go, let's say you go to Starbucks or you're grocery shopping, any place that has this U-beam plate on its wall, well, anytime you walk into that store, you walk into that place that has the U-beam, your phone will automatically be charging.
Right.
As you're on your phone using it, or if it's in your bag, it just automatically picks up the frequencies.
And the nice thing with U-beam, like you said, there's those wireless charging pads right now, but basically you have to put the phone down on the pad, or you have to, if the pad is under the table, I guess I'm going under the table here, Scott, but generally, like in a conference table or whatever, a lot of companies have put these pads in so that you can put your phone on the top of the table and the pads underneath it, and it'll go an inch or so through the table and still allow you to charge your phone wirelessly. But the U-beam has dramatically much longer range, so you're able to, maybe not in the entire restaurant, but certainly you can be at one end of the table and the U-beam is connected to a wall on the other side of the table, and it'll charge. So, and it also allows you to move information, correct?
Yes, I mean, this type of technology is going to open up a lot of doors, I believe. I think it's definitely very, very interesting because the problem is now is we're always dealing with having to be close to something. Like you're saying, if you have the wireless charging pads, it's still wireless, but you still have to have it down on the table or wherever it's situated. And this will be freeing us. And yes, you're right, it will be also being able to transmit things as well.
So have they used the U-beam yet to charge a vehicle?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking that is that Scott's smiling over here now. But there's a company called Ytricity, and they have a charging pad that you put in your garage. And if you have an electric car like a Prius, you just drive over this pad and it'll charge your car up.
Oh, that's great.
Well, it's definitely going to be, as far as the distance goes, as far as being able to find places to charge your electric car. And what do they call that? It's a trip.
Stations.
People being paranoid about being able to hop in their electric car and take a 45-mile trip.
Right, exactly.
And thinking you're going to get stuck. I mean, out here in the Dakotas, we kind of think that too, because
Absolutely.
Lord knows where that gas station is in northern South Dakota. But, with the electric cars, you never know where that's just going to peter out. And if you thought that you were everywhere you were driving, of course, it scares me to think that the air is filled with that much energy, but I am, again, a simple man, right? I'd be surprised with what the air is filled with now.
You are putting your aluminum hat back on.
I would think I'm going to get an electric shock every single thing I touch or whatever. I'm never wearing corduroy pants again.
But you think about this. I mean, there could be a time where, as we're traveling down the highway or the interstate or whatever, that the interstate itself could be powering our vehicles, sure. or devices along the side that throw electricity out or whatever. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think we're just starting to see this come about. There's actually a home in Sweden that is run entirely on powerless or wireless power. So, and I know we're pushed up against the clock here. So after the break, everybody, we will come back. That's your clue, Scott.
I'll hit it. I didn't want to do it too quick.
Go, Scott, go.
Simple Scott. He nicknamed himself, by the way, Katie. He calls himself Simple Scott on this show. So anyway, after the break, everybody, we will continue our conversation about wireless electricity as well as some other exciting technology. So coming back.
simple and proud of it.
Currently, it's 54.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And in studio, I hate to call you Simple Scott. Scott
That doesn't
McGowan.
seem right.
He nicknamed himself Simple Scott earlier in the show. On the phone, Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino. And we were just finishing our conversation on wireless power using U-Beam. And Katie, one of the things I noticed with U-Beam is that it has a limitation about going through walls.
And that's why I guess they were saying that it would work in any room that you have it in. So instead of it being throughout the whole house, you would have to have a plate in each room you want the device to be
Sure.
charging in.
I don't know if that's a big limitation. I just, except that, instead of having one device that might cover your whole house or your restaurant or whatever, that you'd have to put these up, a couple of them here and there. But I don't know if that would be a big deal or not. Just the fact that you don't have to, have your phone laying on top of a wireless charging pad, which is extremely convenient in itself. But, you walk into any restaurant that has U-Beam technology and you're able to accept that charge. I just think it's cool. So,
Airports.
yeah. That would be so huge in airports.
But I bet technologically, because of all the things they have to do, maybe ultrasounds just wouldn't be good in that type of environment. I don't know, but boy, that would sure be the place when it's like, well, you got another 2 hours. You
right.
know? Yeah.
Well, and I find it interesting in airports that every time I travel, where people are sitting is always around an electrical outlet.
Right.
Because there's just not enough of them, and some of the airports have added tons more charging stations and everything else, but they don't come close to what they actually need in those places. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Katie, anything else on U-Beam?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, one of the most interesting things, I always like reading comments and seeing what people think about any topic, right?
Okay.
And when I was reading the comments about U-Beam, it was interesting because a lot of people were bringing up how they thought that maybe using ultrasound might affect animals such as bats and dolphins and things like that. Now, how do you feel about that?
Well, that is interesting. There's been a debate going on for years about cell towers and the bee population. And,
Right.
there's been a dramatic decrease, over the last few years in the bee population. And they're wondering that if, cell phone towers and the reason they think that is just some type of frequency that goes out from the cell phone towers, and they think it's driving bees away. So there might be a correlation there. It's hard to say until they test it a little bit further, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. But, with anything, there's always, people that get worried. And I guess it's definitely good to be concerned about any technology for definitely, But, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And Meredith Perry said that she believes that these products should be available within the next 2 years.
That would be very cool. It really would be. And it is something that I certainly would be using. In fact, I'd probably be an early integrator and put it in my office because I'm always charging my devices. Drives me
Definitely.
nuts.
And for the Internet of Things, too. I mean, we're going to have so many devices which, over time, they're going to probably be wireless and things like that. And I think that this type of technology, if it does turn out to work out, it would be great because you'd have everything wireless charging all the time connected with this. I mean, I could definitely see it in the future. Potentially, we won't even need outlets anymore.
So my toaster, which is now connected to the internet, will now be wirelessly charged as well. I
Using
love it.
ultrasound.
I love it. I can bring my
Definitely.
toaster to work. I can take it home. I can bring it to the studio. Scott, I am going to be a happy guy.
And we figured this would be a subscription service of some sort that you would have to. I mean, it would be available everywhere.
That is interesting. I would imagine in some places they'll probably have to charge for it.
I would think.
There is a charge to have that electricity out there so that people can charge the devices. But, on the other hand, I go to many coffee shops, and they always have outlets available to plug your computer in or whatever. And maybe they just consider it a cost of doing business.
Well.
So, I don't know.
Definitely.
Because
So-
it's something you'd be wanting to probably have at home as well.
Right. Well, then that would just be the cost of the electricity to, you still have to plug in the device.
Right.
So, it'd be no different than your router or something like that that you have.
I don't think they would charge for it. I just think it's a service, like you're saying. It gets people to go outside, and people like being outside, and why not have this as an extra service for your customers to enjoy, to be able to wirelessly charge their phones. I
Right.
could definitely see it in Starbucks and places like that in the future.
Yeah, I do too. And any coffee shop that offers wonderful internet is always busy. So, if
Definitely.
you throw this in there as well, that they can wirelessly charge their devices while they're there, I just think that'll just be another value-added thing that they'll do. You may have to pay $0.25 more for your coffee, though.
Right. And I guess when you say it doesn't go
Maybe.
through the walls, so you can't be loitering outside.
Right, exactly.
You want to have everybody like the Wi-Fi folks or whatever
Yeah.
sitting right outside your place.
So, Katie,
Sure.
do you use Craigslist?
Do I use Craigslist?
Yep.
Oh, yes, I am right now. I actually just been in the process of moving, and wow, that's definitely an interesting experience for sure.
The moving or Craigslist?
Both, I
Okay.
would say. I do have some furniture I've been looking to sell because, I usually donate things a lot, and I was thinking maybe I'd try to maybe sell some pieces that I had, and I use Craigslist, but it's a hit or miss, I'd say.
So, do you find it interesting that Craigslist has the same look, same design as it did back in the early to mid 90s?
It does. It's as basic as it is. I mean, I guess it's just part of its thing, I guess. But I don't like the layout. Obviously, it's just very. It just feels like cheap and very. I don't know. There's nothing there, right?
Right. Well,
you just see the listings.
They've never really updated the interface at all, and in fact, it was basically an organic website that somebody just started, and it just built by itself. And I think, wasn't it 4 or 5 years ago that the founder of Craigslist finally just sold it to eBay? I think that's how it worked out.
Oh wow.
But there's still not a lot of advertising. There's some on there now, but it is pretty basic. But for those of you who don't know what Craigslist is, it is basically, it is the world's largest classified ads. That's what it is.
Right.
So it is what I find interesting, though, is that Craigslist has remained prominent from day one, and it has declined. It was the 27th largest website, ranked website in November 2013, and it is now the 41st ranked website in the world today.
Wow.
So it has dropped a little bit, and I think it's because there is, other competitions, other marketplaces that are appearing online, local marketplaces. I would bet even like Groupon and those type of companies have affected some of the traffic that goes to Craigslist. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot of niche websites and apps that have been popping up. I mean, back in the day, right, you wanted to, let's say, get rid of a bunch of used clothes, or even with furniture now, there's so many different new apps that keep on popping up that people don't have to just rely on Craigslist anymore. And I also think that, too, Craigslist has gotten kind of a bad rap over the years as well because, it just seems it got kind of really seedy, like it has a very seedy feel to it.
It does, yeah.
And you meet all kinds of characters, small walks of life there through Craigslist, and you don't really know who you're meeting. It's not it's not so safe. And I feel like these other apps, a lot of more modern things are coming out that are just, I think, creating a better draw and pulling people away from Craigslist.
Well, and I think actually Facebook itself. I know one of the phenomena we've had around here in recent history, and are you on Facebook, Scott?
A little bit.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So have you noticed these garage sale pages and things that are on, garage sale no clothes, garage sale furniture, right, whatever, on Facebook, and there must be, I'm going to guess at least a half a dozen to a dozen just in our local area, and I would imagine that perpetuates across the country. So Facebook itself has probably taken a lot of the traffic away from Craigslist, because you can just post a photo, little description, throw the price on there, and bang, you got a bunch of people that are looking at it. So
Yes, and to be honest, that's exactly what I did, because originally I posted a bedroom set and things like that on Craigslist, and I didn't really get a lot of hits for it, honestly. And then when I posted everything on my Facebook, and then I had people actually coming to pick it up, which is great.
Sure.
So I've found more success with my own friends through Facebook than
Sure.
on Craigslist.
All right, Katie, thanks for being on the show. Scott, thanks for filling in today. Everybody have a great
Thanks,
week.
Paula.
All right.
ABC News, Super Talk 1270. Accurate news, stimulating talk. This is KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck.